Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kim Jacobs Show. Hope you guys are having a great Monday. I'd like to welcome my guest, Dr. Tommy Watson. How are you, Dr.
Good
Watson?
morning. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing great. So now listen, everyone, as you come in, go ahead and tell your friends, family, coworkers to tune in to this episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. You can share it with your friends. Let people know that the Kim Jacobs Show is here on the air. And if you're interested in actually being a part of today's broadcast, I'm going to give you a link so you'll have it right from the beginning if you want to join in. Once you hear this man's story, you might have a lot of questions, shout outs, inspirational things that you just want to share with him too. You can definitely be brought into today's broadcast, and I'll pop you on the screen if you would like to do that. So make sure you see the link there if you would like to join in today's broadcast. But we are going to, I really want to start today's episode, first of all, with a moment of silence. And it's in reference to the Charlotte shooting that took place on last evening. I'm from the Charlotte community. And on Beatties Ford Road, right near where our church is located, there was a shooting that in the midst of everyone kind of doing extended Juneteenth celebration, there was a shooting that took place. And my heart breaks for our community to know that that kind of situation is happening. And I've seen all of the videos, I've seen the commentaries, I've seen all of the different varying opinions pertaining to it. But the point is, 2 lives were taken. And so I want to take just a moment before we kick today's broadcast off, and I'm going to remove this from the screen here and just have a moment of silence. So if you would. God bless you all. So I'm putting that up here, just a moment of silence to honor those whose lives were taken in Charlotte, North Carolina. Every single life is important, and innocent people were killed last evening. And I just want to make sure that you know that we're praying for all of the family members, those that are in this situation as well. And I'm very open if anybody is interested in the Charlotte community and coming on the show. So keep in mind, I live here in the Charlotte area. And so if there's someone that wants to come on the show to talk about this incident that happened last evening, please make sure you reach out to me, Kim at thebalancedoctor.tv. And I will be, I don't know what the right word is to even say if I'm honored or what, but I'm willing to have you come on the show and let's discuss this further. Kim at thebalancedoctor.tv. Okay, so today we are going to be talking with, Mr. T.A. Watson. Dr. T.A. Watson, Dr. Tommy Watson.
Hey, what's going on?
Considered one of the world's top authorities on resilience, change, motivation, and leadership. Dr. Tommy Watson inspires millions with the unique and charismatic way he articulates his rags to riches story. Watson's challenges included a wide variety of things, and I'm actually not going to go into every detail. So we talked about this backstage because his story is so robust that I want you to hear it from his own lips as to what happened in his life, ranging from a wide variety of things dealing with I'm going to end it there. Welcome, Dr. Tommy Watson.
Thank you very much, Kim. I appreciate it. I appreciate you getting me on. And big shout out to my former teammate and good friend, fraternity brother, Javon Jackson, for making the connection. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. That Javon Jackson is my brother,
right.
My biological brother. So my real brother, not just a brother in fraternity and sorority. Yeah. But I thank you, Jay, for recommending Dr. Tommy Watson, and his story is absolutely life-changing. So let's jump right into everything. I mean, we don't have any scripted questions,
right,
but I want people to leave today's show knowing that no matter what they have been through, no matter what the circumstances, no matter what the situation, you can still make it in today's time. So
absolutely,
take us back as far as you want to go, and let's go from there.
Absolutely. You know, one of my favorite songs, the verse says in there, when I think about my story, I can't help but to give him glory, you know. And I tell my wife that's what I want on my tombstone. just so thankful in terms of, where God has brought me from on my journey. I grew up in Denver, Colorado with parents who were drug addicts and shoplifters. And unfortunately, because of their behaviors, me and my siblings paid a heck of a price. So by the time I finished high school, my mother and father were arrested 121 times. First year I was born, my mother was arrested 11 times. By the time I was in second grade, I lived in numerous foster homes, crisis centers, motel rooms, lived with my grandmother several times. Went to 4 different elementary schools in 1 year between my second and third grade year of school. Had a learning disability thing, only thing about the time, and met my oldest brother by pure coincidence in a foster home in second grade. I'd never met him before. My 2 older siblings, sisters remembered him, and first time ever I met my oldest brother. By third grade, Kim, I was in a separated from my sisters. Again, they were placed in a different foster home, and me and my younger brother and younger sister were now back together, placed in the custody of my aunt. As a third grader, my only goal was to join the local Crips with hopes of leading the Crips as a third grader because I had so much hurt and pain inside of me. And my aunt was very smart, and she sensed that there was something in me that was yearning to be a part of something bigger than myself, and she got me involved in sports. Sports literally saved my life because everything I was looking for in the world of gangs, I received from playing sports. A sense of belonging, a chance to connect with other kids who had similar goals and dreams, had a great male mentor coach. So sports was my everything. So I was with my aunt for several years, and by my 7th grade year, I was back with my mother and father for 2 years. We found ourselves in another very difficult situation. It was a beautiful sunny day in the city of Denver. We're now renting a house in the neighborhood. I grew up in Colorado's first black neighborhood called 5 Points in Denver. So we're renting this house in summertime before my 8th grade year of school, at home watching television, and suddenly there was a knock at the door. And I'm surprised, and I go to the door, and to my bigger surprise, there sit the police and local sheriffs. I'm like, whoa, why are you here? Well, they had informed me that my parents had not been paying rent, that we had to get out. And I'm saying, whoa, get out. I'm like, in 60 days, right? They said, no. I said, you mean like 30 days, right? They said, no. I said, so when are we supposed to get out? They said, right now. I said, right now? I said, so where are we supposed to go? They said, that's not our problem. They started taking all of our stuff and started throwing it into the front yard. They immediately kicked us out in front of all my.
How old were you?
I was in middle school, getting ready to go in 8th grade. And they literally threw everything we owned into the front yard. And there was a piece of me, Kim, at that moment that wanted to break down and start crying, but I kept it together. But later on that evening, when we actually watched the folks come into our neighborhood and take everything we owned, there was nothing we can do about it. When I really broke down and lost it. From there, my family of 9 of us moved into our 7th motel room, 1 room, 9 people, 2 beds, 1 bathroom for my entire 8th grade year of school. And during this time, I continued to play basketball. And it had a life-changing moment where a coach came into the inner cities of Denver and talked to me and my friends about the potential of going to this private suburban high school in the suburbs. And I remember getting excited about that. But also knew out of all the kids on the basketball team, my parents were probably going to be the ones that weren't going to support me going to the school. So changed my grades around. While living in this motel room, I got on the honor roll. I won several awards. I won the Colorado Youth Citizenship Award that was given to like 12 kids while living in this motel room. So we start talking about the power of hope. And the acronym I use for hope is have only positive expectations. Again, have only positive expectations. That's what I had while living in the middle of this motel room where 60 adults were drug addicts, and me and my little brother and little sister left to fend for ourselves. Ended up getting into this high school after my mother and father going back to prison again. Took 3 city buses, one way to high school every morning, started at 6:30 in the morning. Would do the same thing on the way back home. In the evening time when sports was over with, I get home anywhere between 8 and 10 o'clock at night. Now, by this time, I was living with my grandmother. And by my junior year of high school, my grandmother had developed Alzheimer's disease. So she had to be placed into a nursing home. In the meantime, my mother was coming back out of prison. Had gotten herself together. My little brother got heavily involved in gangs and taking a gun to school and tried to shoot someone in school. Being shipped off to juvenile prison. My older brother, who I had met for the first time in 2nd grade, was now back around because he had ties to the same gangs as my little brother. My mother was trying to get her life together, but because she had been to prison so many times, no one would give her a second chance.
Nobody.
So my mom ended up turning to selling drugs to take care of us. In the middle of my senior year of high school, while being recruited as one of the top football players in the nation, my mom ended up going back to prison again.
Dang.
Wait.
Because this is you just saying this like smoothing all the way through, but this is a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, people that deal with just one component of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
their parents or parent, even one parent having to go to jail can crack somebody's like mindset. It can overwhelm a person, you know?
Absolutely.
So what you're saying is your parents both, right?
Yes.
Were in jail. You collectively over 100 and some times.
121 times together. So 77 for my dad, 44 for my mother, unfortunately.
And then now you went through your childhood and growing up with your siblings in different areas through the foster care alone too.
Absolutely.
Is another thing that can really sometimes impact people very negatively.
Absolutely.
But you, Dr. Inspiration, was able to somehow deal with all of this and still get a scholarship to college and to play football.
Yeah. Had 30 scholarship offers, as a matter of fact, in the midst of this. Yeah.
So before you go on to the rest of your story, what advice would you give people? Because you say have only positive expectations.
Yes.
But nothing that you went through was positive.
Yes.
Nothing that you were experiencing was positive.
Absolutely.
If you look at the real situation.
Yes.
So what advice would you give young people today that are in situations and circumstances and living environments, inner city situations that are beyond their control? This is just where they were born into. This is what they live in.
Yes.
What advice would you give them?
One of the things that the Bible says, where there's no vision, the people perish. So even in the midst of that motel room, I was dreaming about something different. And I wasn't quite sure where it was going to take me. Again, because no one in my family had ever gone to college before. No one had ever done anything differently before. But I started dreaming about something that was possible beyond that motel room while living in it. So again, in 7th grade, Kim, I got D's and F's in school. I mean, literally, the school bus would drop us off to school. I wouldn't even go into the building. I would leave and go out and hang out in the park until the bus came back at the end of the day and go back home.
Wow.
There was something inside of me that just got really excited when this coach came in and said, hey, you guys can possibly go out here and go to college. I said, whoa. So something in my mind was saying, this might be my out. So while living in that motel room, I was literally walking 10 miles a day, going from the motel room to the recreation center, to my house, no parental support for my basketball games or anything else. But I was on a mission to do something different. Wow. So with our young people out there, if you can have a vision or a hope for something that's out there for you, it can make a tremendous difference in your life. Because every day, this is why I tell people, Kim, every day that you wake up, you don't have a vision, a hope, or a goal for your life, be aware that someone else has a vision and a goal and a hope for your life.
That's important. So you don't have a plan, somebody else has a plan.
You're gonna work. A plan will be work for your life. It'll be your plan or someone else's plan.
Let me ask you too, Dr. Watson. Did you share this broadcast over with your friends on Facebook from my page? Because right now, when we go live, as long as it's not on the device that you're on, okay. But where we go live, if you share it right where you see our live thing right there, you can share it and it'll go to your friends too. That's the reason I'm saying that.
Okay. What button do I have to hit for it to go live to my friends as well?
All you have to do is hit share from my page.
Okay. Okay, I am
You see it?
For some reason I don't see that button on mine. Let me see yours.
Okay, if you just go to my personal Facebook page.
Okay. Now, I'm on my computer, so I'm not even connected to my.
Yeah, don't worry about it then. Don't worry about it. People can go back and see it later. I just want to make sure your audience didn't miss it too. But okay, so now you get talked to about with this coach.
Yeah.
About the possibility of going to college. So now the lights go off and you're like, what?
No.
This can happen for me.
Yes.
Okay, so now what? Take us on some more of the journey.
So keep in mind, the black males in my neighborhood by this time, this is when the 80s where the Crips and Bloods were being ran out of LA and they were now coming to Denver. So the gang thing was crazy. All the black males in my neighborhood were either involved in gangs, selling drugs, or going to prison, or dying early. So this was an outlet for me to possibly do something different. And I remember, again, while living in this motel room, my father's telling me that, hey, you're a selfish kid for trying to go out here. You're talking about dreaming and everything else. And you're telling us you want more. my clothes are dirty. I'm going to school. I'm being talked about by not only by my friends, but also by the teachers in the building. And I remember Kim while playing basketball one day. So you can imagine we're in motel rooms. And these aren't like hotel rooms. These are cheap $30 a night motel rooms.
I know.
And the floors were dirty. So we walked across the floors. Our socks were like brown. I remember one day, Kim, on the basketball court playing with one of my friends, and my shoes, they smelled so bad. My friends were just making jokes about it all. But I was saying to myself, someday this is going to possibly change. And when that opportunity came to go out to this high school I was all over it. Just something in my spirit that told me this is one thing you want to capitalize on. Because I tell people a lot of times, growing up as a kid, I was a kid who made a lot of mistakes. But when those opportunities came, Kim, to seize the moment, I was ready and willing to do whatever's going to take to do it. And again, took 3 city buses out to the school every day. My grandmother Helen, bless her heart, one of the sweetest ladies I ever met. Tough, stern lady, but she eventually developed Alzheimer's disease. So the walk became one that I had to do independently by myself because my mother came out of prison. And I was very proud of my mother because she was no longer my dad, no longer doing drugs. But, society sometimes has a hard time giving people second chances, though. My mother could have really benefited from a second chance. So she turned to selling drugs to take care of us. And in the middle of my senior year of high school, where I had all these coaches calling me and everything else, my mom ends up going back to prison again. And in the meantime, I had coaches calling me from across the country. I would have my aunt and my mother's friend pose as my mother when they would come to visit me. I eventually got kicked out of that house. And a friend of the family said, hey, I found myself homeless. And a friend of the family said, hey, you can sleep on my floor, but literally you have to leave come May. And I remember during this time I had a girlfriend, and I convinced her it'd be a good idea if we got her pregnant, though. And it wasn't so much Kim, we hear oftentimes girls getting pregnant for different reasons, though. But it wasn't so much that I loved her as much as I was looking for a baby. I wanted something to love. And I remember convincing her it'd be a good idea because I wanted a baby. It was selfish at the time, but at the same time, my son Martise became something that I was able to love and give something to that I'd never received myself. And that's what I was seeking for. I eventually ended up being shipped off to the University of Minnesota with the Greyhound bus with the trunk. This trunk right here, actually behind me, sits in my office. Let me see if you can see it. This trunk here. Same trunk right here.
Oh.
Greyhound sticker right there.
Wow.
7 years ago, my family put me on a bus, Kim, sent me off to the University of Minnesota, and they said, good luck. I got to the University of Minnesota. They had never had a student athlete come into my circumstances. I got there. My mom was in prison. My dad was in prison. My little brother was in prison. My grandmother was my last legal guardian, was in nursing home with Alzheimer's disease. My oldest brother's back there in gang banging. My older sister's back there on crack cocaine. My second older sister was in foster care in Iowa. Between my 11th and 12th grade year of high school, I lived in 5 different locations and spent the last 6 months homeless, sleeping on the floor with a family member friend, and was shipped off to the University of Minnesota, and they said, figure it out. And I remember getting there. I cried for about 22 hours of the 24-hour bus ride to the University of Minnesota because I wasn't quite sure, Kim, what was going to ever happen. But, one thing that happened to me, I'll talk about this in my book. When I was leaving my neighborhood on the Greyhound bus, it was really weird. Because, again, my family who put me on the bus, they didn't know what was going to – I didn't have any home address back in Denver. And I was leaving the neighborhood, Kim, when the bus was leaving. And there was something that said, Denver, Colorado would never be your home ever again. And it broke my heart because I love my neighborhood. I loved – even though the things were tough there, it was all I knew. Right. So when that hit me that Denver would never be your home again, I remember just crying like, okay, well where's my home going to be at, Right. Because I lived in 30 different locations back in Denver, so I couldn't point to any one place that was home for me, though. I just knew as a city, as a neighborhood, 5 Points neighborhood in Denver, Colorado was my home. That's where I grew up at. But it would never be home to me ever again. And I remember getting to the University of Minnesota and getting there, Kim, and hearing the stories of my teammates. As a matter of fact, I got there early because the University of Minnesota were afraid that I was going to probably get killed back home in Denver because of the gang situation. And this was right when the same time the movie Boys in the Hood came out. Right. Yeah, Ricky had gotten killed before he got his scholarship. So I was shipped off to the University of Minnesota before I ended school. Got to the University of Minnesota. And I remember being there over the summertime and everyone's asking, why are you here so early? And I can explain to them. And then I remember watching the fall when all my teammates arrived and other students had arrived to the dorms, and they were all coming with their families and stuff, Kim. And I was dragging my trunk in there by myself. And it was pretty lonely. It's pretty devastating though, you know.
Well, now that, you know, I don't even know, you know how you don't even know what to even say in a situation like this, because I know the environment that I grew up in and I thought it was bad. I actually thought it was a really impoverished situation. But to hear your story is so much more intense. So somebody always has it worse than what you have it.
Yeah.
And so like when you say Denver, Colorado would never be your home again, that's sometimes the thing that happens with a lot of people that do make it out per se. We make it out of an area. What advice do you give to people to still be able to stay true to your roots and your upbringing, even if you never go back to that area again? Any advice or words of encouragement?
Well, I think it's okay to leave the neighborhood. I think it's okay to want something different. I think it's okay to do it. But I think it's also equally okay to be a bridge. You want to be a bridge builder. For those, you want to be able to go back into the community, give hope to the young people there, give hope to the seniors. And then you don't necessarily want to tell people that they should leave the neighborhood, because some people who are going to say they're okay living in the neighborhood. That's fine. However, you're going to be in the neighborhood, you want to be able to empower people to be able to make the difference within the community as well, though. Unfortunately, my neighborhood in Denver, where I grew up at, was the first Black neighborhood. It's now been regentrified. So the neighborhood isn't even there anymore. It's not even the neighborhood anymore. So I tell people it's less about a place and more about the people. Be about the people and making a difference in their lives, you know, encouraging them to strive to do better. You know, I'm going to be speaking to a church back in my community here on Thursday. And they want to know what it's going to, you know, how can we as a faith community prepare and deal with racism? And one of the things I'm telling them is that we have to address the issues around racism. Absolutely.
Right.
But more importantly, though, we have to find out what God's purpose is for us as human beings here, because Tommy Watson has to live day by day, minute by minute, according to what God has called me to do on this earth. And it's not, he hasn't called me to simply spend my time responding to the fears and ignorance of other people, though. So when those situations come up, we have to be ready to respond to them. However, we have to be able to figure out what God's purpose is for us as individuals and live out that purpose every day. That's the mission of the church, our families, our communities. That's what we have to do, though. We can't simply spend all of our time responding to the fears and ignorance of others.
Wow. Okay. So we have to figure out our purpose, I'm typing what you're saying.
Yeah.
Figure out our God-given purpose.
Yes.
But okay. So now it's interesting that you say that, because as people are trying to figure out their God-given purposes and they're out using just their rights to do peaceful protest, doesn't mean that they don't have a God-given purpose, and that when they finish with the peaceful protest, they're going to live out their God-given purpose. But sometimes their lives are snuffed from them just because of ignorance and violence and senseless killings. What advice do you have for people that could say because I mean, especially with you getting ready to go and speak to the spiritual community, what advice do you recommend to African Americans that are out here trying to use their voice and do it peacefully, not those that are out rioting and trying to cause a problem, but those that are out using their voice?
Yeah.
Bring peace.
I would tell them to continue to do it. We need that. We need that big time. You know, when I was in school and after college, I did a lot of those same things as well, though. But we don't have to just do one thing. We can march, but we can also find out what our purpose is. We can create businesses. We can get in leadership roles. We can get back into schools. We need to encourage, you know, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I actually went to University of Minnesota was right down the street from where Mr. George Floyd got killed at, unfortunately. But I remember thinking, I loved the response of the police chief, and I think it helped that he was African American. I love the response of the DA's office. It helped that he was African American. So we have to get more of our young people getting in these settings. We got to get the education. We got to get the leadership skills. We got to go into the criminal justice system. We got to become judges. We got to become lawyers. We got to become police chiefs. All those things we're going to need to really bring about the changes that we need in our society. So march, yes. Get out and vote, and then find your God-given purpose and live that out daily. Because again, we're not just simply called here on this earth to respond to the ignorance of others, because what we're facing in our societies is based upon the ignorance and fears of others. And one of the things that happens is, as African Americans, I believe truly in my heart that the founding fathers of this nation actually knew what we were capable of before we got here. They knew that as free beings that we could compete on any level with everyone else here, and that scared a lot of people. And that still scares a lot of people to this day, though.
Wow.
So we got to know that we are more than capable of doing anything that anyone else is doing in our society, but we got to be willing to endure. We got to be resilient. We got to go get the education. We can't make excuses. We can't take shortcuts. That's one thing my grandmother told me all the time. You can't take shortcuts. She said, boy, you got to have some want to about yourself, some want to. You got to have some get up and go about yourself, because no one can have that for you. Because when you start talking about hope, Kim, there's two components of hope that are very critical. The first thing is you got to have some willpower, which my grandmother used to say, you got to have some want to about yourself. So there has to be some internal drive. But the other piece that's very important that we miss sometimes is you got to have way power, W-A-Y, power. That's about the blueprint and the pathway to success. So those of us who have been fortunate to make it out of certain situations, though, I believe we have an obligation to go back and share that blueprint with others who are facing those same challenges to this day, though.
That's
what we're going to stay motivated. We have to, and stay hopeful, we have to have willpower and we have to have way power. That blueprint is absolutely critical to our success.
Wow. Okay. I'm trying to capture everything you're saying.
You're doing a great job.
I'm your personal assistant over here.
You're doing a great job, boy.
That's so profound for people to walk away knowing that internal drive and that way power, that blueprint and pathway to success, giving other people that proper bridge to cross over, even if we have made it in society, which I'm a big believer, I'll never arrive, no matter what God blesses me with, because at the end of the day, I always want to be willing to learn something new and to help somebody and to give back and to help other people become their best selves by teaching them the process.
Absolutely.
And showing them the pieces to the puzzle and how they can put it together.
That's right.
So this is really good. Now, so you're at University of Minnesota. Got to keep on the journey here.
Yeah. And
football.
The funny thing is, Kim, when I left the University of Minnesota, I left there thinking that everything that I left in Denver was behind me. I left the physical conditions. I'm good now. My goal is to go to the NFL and make lots of money, and I'll be happy. I remember getting to the NFL by my junior year of college. Everything that I ran from in Denver was still there. Matter of fact, there was a pastor who say, wherever you go, there you are. I didn't know that concept at the time, that even though I left physically all the stuff I left in Denver, mentally, emotionally, all that baggage was following me right there to University of Minnesota. And I remember, Kim, my second year of college, I was doing good on the football field. I was active, in terms of the players on the team, what have you, though. But I was crying myself to sleep every night as this strong athlete. And I was depressed. I didn't know that at the time. And I remember my lowest point came, I was meeting with my academic advisor, and I was getting these headaches. And she was saying, are you okay, Tommy? And I'm trying to mask the pain like most of us do. I'm saying, yeah, I'm fine. And she was saying, are you sure? I remember leaving her office and going to the players' lounge. And I remember just dropping my head into my books and just started crying. She came in, she said, you're not okay. And she said, you need to talk to someone. And what I started doing was, I didn't necessarily go to a counselor, but I began to open up with my teammates. And one of the things I found was that when I shared my struggles with my teammates, many of them began to share the same struggles back with me as well. Because we were able to put down the mask, we're able to be more human. And sometimes in life, we flow behind the mask of athletics, fraternities, sororities, occupations, degrees, titles, all these things we run behind, but we don't necessarily give people a chance to really find out who we really are. And in doing so, with my teammate Chris Darkins, we actually became really good friends, and it became a heavy burden I began to lift off myself by just sharing my story. Because again, my situation at college was quite different. During breaks and vacations, Kim, many of my teammates would take flights back home. I would take the Greyhound bus back home. And many of them would laugh and they said, why are you taking the Greyhound bus back home? But what happened was the Greyhound bus, usually when I was going back home in Denver, I didn't have anywhere to stay.
Right.
So it took me 24 hours to get from Minnesota back to Denver. So I knew that gave me at least 2 nights going and coming somewhere to stay. I would get home. No one would be at Greyhound bus station to pick me up or anything like that. I'd have to call people and they would say, "Oh, you in town? Okay, thanks for coming." And I would bounce around from place to place. My son's mom would let me stay with him for a moment, but it was hectic. And then my friends would go home where the families were doing barbecues for them, welcoming them back home and all those different things. And there was a piece of me saying, wow, man, I wish I had that for myself, and I just didn't have it, But it forced me to dig deeper and say that this NFL thing had to work out for me. But lo and behold, I ended up getting injury, and the NFL went by the wayside. But one of the things God had in store for me was to get the education. So I remember thinking to myself after going back home, Kim, I was in a drive-by shooting where me and my mother was almost killed in this drive-by shooting. There was a random drive-by shooting in the neighborhood. They shot up the van. Me and my mother were in the van. And I talked to Javon about this. He was my teammate at the time. I went back to university. I remember before I got back to University of Minnesota, they shot up this van. And I get out of this van. There were 2 shooters shooting from within 6 feet of the van. It was a Cherokee, just came out of the blue and just passed by us and just wiped out all the windows on the van. And by the grace of God, we were not killed. But I remember looking at that minivan, shot it from front to back. I said, I can't come back to this environment right here, though. I went back to the University of Minnesota, a completely different man. I remember going back saying, education has to become my way out. And I remember closing my blinds and unplugging my phones and everything else back in the day, forcing myself to really seek out what education was going to really be about. And I got my degree, and I said, you know what? I don't have any safety net, so I went and got 3 additional degrees, including my doctorate of education. So I have 4 degrees that are on my wall behind me there, my 4 degrees. So a kid goes from homeless to having 4 degrees is a blessing. And then I said, I went on and became a school principal because that's the bridge piece I wanted to do. I wanted to give back to our community, let our young people know that no matter what situation you were in, you are more than capable of making out of that situation if you believe in yourself. In our schools. So the other piece I want to talk about really quickly, Kim.
Wait, before you go to the next piece, let me ask you, because I mean the 4 degrees, that became your way out. So tell us, when you got back to Minnesota after having that drive-by shooting with your mom, and both of your lives could have been taken right at that moment, and your life could have been totally done and different on this earth, on this earth. So you could have never even realized your educational dreams.
Yeah.
When you got each of those degrees that are back there on your wall, just tell me what each of them meant to you, what each milestone meant to you educationally back there.
Yeah. So education was the one thing I was always told that no one can take away from me. And it became a way for me to increase my safety net because there was no one in my house in Denver that I could call back and say, hey, I need help. Matter of fact, I remember one time in college asking, my bank account was in the negative. I remember my mom was out and I asked her, my aunt, and some other folks to send me some money. It took them like 2 weeks to send me $20. By that time, my account had been closed and everything else. I appreciate their efforts, but I knew that education was going to be my way out. So I had to get my bachelor's, and I got my master's, and I got my advanced graduate degree, and I got my doctorate degree. And even I was a principal at the time, and people were saying, you don't need a doctorate degree to become a principal. I said, nah, you don't need one, but I do though. Because I also knew that the more education I could get, the more influence I would have on society as well though. So each of those became opportunities for me to continue. Those degrees back there behind me, I thank God for them every day, but those 4 degrees back there behind me do not necessarily make me who I am today though. What they do is open up avenues for me to connect further with other people and to share about how good God has been on my journey and let people know what they're capable of doing though.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So go ahead. Tell us what you were getting ready to say. You said I'm getting ready to tell you some more. So what is it? I'm talking about a movie, by the way. I'm like this. I need some popcorn. This is crazy.
Yeah. We're gonna get to the movie real soon too. So we're marching about the police department though. But one of the places we can't forget is that a lot of these injustices are in our schools. So if you look at the research on a lot of our Black males and Black students, they're not necessarily going to jail in schools, but they're certainly being unjustly suspended, receiving behavioral consequences. So one of the things I want to do as a principal, I wanted to reduce the number of suspensions in my building. So by the time I left there as a principal, we had one suspension the entire year of high poverty school, but we held kids accountable as well, Kim. And we did that by creating a community service program. And there were a lot of people in my staff that were saying, what are you doing? You're not suspending the kids. What are you doing? And one of the things I told them was we needed the change to happen internally for our kids, because simply suspending kids and they went back home and ran the streets for 3 days didn't help when they came back. So what we started doing was I would tell the parent, I said, hey, you know what, little Tommy could go home suspended to be on his record for three days, or he can participate in the community service program. And they would always opt for the community service program. And I said, here's the catch. I don't want you calling me tomorrow, next week, or even the next month asking when he's finished. So what these kids would do, they would give up their recess time, and either they would clean the lunchroom, they would go help out with other kids in the school, they would go read books to our disabled kids. So a lot of the change was happening internally for them. We were giving them a chance to have success outside of an academic environment where it began to boost their self-esteem and their self-efficacy. So many of the kids in my program, when they got done with the community service program, they wanted to be teachers when they got done because they enjoyed helping out. You know, we had one suspension the entire year. A kid brought a toy gun and there was no gray area for me. But it showed in our schools that we can do things other than suspend kids. Suspending kids is not working. So let's be creative and help create an environment where they're in school doing, getting what they need and the protection they need. And we as a school, we work with them 6 hours. Let's help them gain those skills and be successful.
I love that program. It's something that could be a model program around the country. So I don't know if you been teaching other schools?
I have. I've been doing it with another high urban district here in the Midwest. I won't give the district name, but there was one school. They were on the news. A kid brought a gun to school. They had over 30 suspensions in 1 year. Started working with this school. They had 0 the following year. So it's a shift in mindset, because one of the things we've been doing in schools and the police department for many years, we've been moving the chairs on the deck. We've been talking about the issues are technical. You know, they need this type of training, but really what it is a heart condition. You need to see my humanity as a student. You need to see my humanity as an individual, as a Black male walking down the streets. And when you're able to walk in my shoes and build a relationship with me, the chance of you kicking me out of school for something frivolous or taking my life on the streets becomes reduced, because now you see me as a human being. You see me as a kid being possibly one of your own kids. You see me as a person walking on the streets being someone who can be a part of your community as well. So we have to move away from the technical trainings and look more at the heart conditions when it comes to educators in our police department.
That's just wow. Okay. Wow. You know what? I'm taking notes on what you're sharing, putting it up for everybody to see. If the staff and principals and so forth would walk in students' shoes,
yes,
it will help you understand me as if I were your own child.
Right.
The heart condition. This is stuff I have not heard. I've heard a lot of things being shared, and I have never heard what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not exaggerating at all. I've been in corporate America working for Fortune 500 companies. I've been in management. I've done a lot of things in my life. I've been in the inner city living. I've come out of the inner city, went back, did research to be able to prove that different stores were charging more in one part of town versus the other. I have never heard what you're sharing. And this information, Dr. Watson, is something that every school across America should be implementing.
Yes, and police department, because it's an issue of empathy.
Yeah. Yeah, the police departments, imagine if they got trained by Dr. Tommy Watson.
Yes.
Be
a different story.
Listen, a public service announcement. If your establishment is having difficulty working with African-American population, please bring in Dr. Tommy Watson, because Dr. Tommy Watson has been proven to be able to work on matters of the heart.
Yeah.
And you be able to unite the police with the community, schools with the children from all walks of life, especially those that are impoverished and is having a difficult challenge at home. Yeah. How can you be able to help them if you don't understand the heart? of the matter.
Yeah.
Dr. Tommy Watson can help you.
I appreciate that, PSA. I appreciate that big time. But, even resiliency is something that we need in our communities. But I have also had recently a CEO from Silicon Valley reach out to me recently, and I'm going to be speaking to his organization on Thursday as well, because he said within the organization, they, now the times we're living in, they have a lot of people who want to bring about change within the organization, but also want to bring about change outside the organization as well. So we are in a very special time in our society where people are becoming more conscious of what's happening, and people want to be a part of the problem, not necessarily the solution. Because when you look back over history, you want to be on the right side of history, saying that you were a contributor in a positive way to the changes that were taking place versus being the ones who are building walls. So we have a lot of folks in our society who may not necessarily be African American who want to know how they can contribute and be a part of the solution and not necessarily the problem. So I'll be talking to this this $50 million company on Thursday about how the employees there can participate and become great members of our society and contribute in a way that can be very, very helpful beyond just the workplace and within the workplace as well.
This is really great information. I don't know if you've said this on any other interviews you've ever been on.
You get it all firsthand.
Oh, well, then let me go ahead and put that on there. This right here is exclusive on the Kim.
There you go. That's right.
I'm going to take an opportunity to say that this information that I really believe is life-changing, that Dr. Tommy Watson is sharing. He's sharing it today on the Kim Jacobs Show. And I encourage you all, if you have not subscribed to the Kim Jacobs Show, take a moment after today's broadcast and please make sure that you officially subscribe to the show. You can subscribe right on YouTube, and here's the link as well, and I've put it in the actual comment section. So it takes just a few moments for you to go to the YouTube channel and click subscribe and turn on your notifications. When you turn on your notifications, you'll get alerted to all of the shows and episodes that come on the Kim Jacobs Show. And it's guests like Dr. Tommy Watson that's on the Kim Jacobs Show. So right now we're getting ready to do our flash round. If there are any questions, comments, you want to be pulled into the broadcast, or if there's anything you want to answer, this is technically like my studio audience is coming up to the mic and they're saying something. That's so right. Anybody in the studio audience of the Kim Jacobs Show virtually, make sure you type your comments or your questions, and Dr. Tommy Watson will take a moment to address them. Let's see.
Absolutely.
Let's see.
And Kim, can I mention this as people are doing that?
Yes, please.
So I mentioned I was a school principal. One of the things I tell people you have to do if you're going to be resilient, you have to have hope. And hope is all about your values. You got to know what's important to you. And I left being a principal about 10 years ago, and I remember people thought I was nuts because they're saying you're a principal, you're doing well in the community, the people like you. But one of the things I really wanted to do was just have an impact on people and just go home, Kim. I didn't want to supervise people anymore. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to have an impact on a broader scale. And I walked away from my $120,000 a year job as a principal and started my own business as a speaker, coaching, consulting. And I remember my ex-wife, 6 months after leaving my job as a principal, being flat broke, and I'm watching my kids open up Christmas presents that I couldn't contribute towards. And I remember her asking me, "What's plan B?" And I said, "There is no plan B. It's only plan A." And within a short period of time, I landed a great contract that really set me on the road, made some amazing things happen for me. And that one decision, Kim, and that one contract ended up awarding me almost $1 million just for that one decision. And people hear that, they say, "I want to do the same thing." But I tell them, I said, "Would you have been willing to walk away from a 6-figure job that you were very comfortable in?" Most people aren't willing to do it because most of us say we have faith. And I kind of equate it to this story of the skier who was skiing down this mountain, and he found himself in an avalanche. And as he's going down the mountain, he's saying, "Lord, Lord, Lord, save me, rescue me, rescue me, rescue me." And he finds himself hanging on a branch, and he's saying, "God, just please save me, please take care of me." And the voice of God said, "Let go of the branch.
Let go of the branch."
Let go of the branch. So they found him the next morning, frozen to the branch, 3 feet off the ground, where he could have left the branch and been on his journey. So sometimes the things that we fear are the very things that God is saying you need to go after and conquer. You know, and I call it the corridor effect. Kim, there were certain doors that would have never opened up to me to be where I am today had I not had the faith to walk down the corridor. There were doors that were closed on me, but there were a lot of doors that opened up on me as well, though. The corridor effect. So some of us, if you are out there and you're not in a place, we say 80% of Americans usually hate the jobs they go to every day. So if you're at a place where you know that God is calling you to do something different, I would say really seek out what it is that you're passionate about, what your skills support, and what you have the talents to do. Really seek those things out, and then begin to find the blueprint. Other people who have already done them, reach out to some of those folks, follow them on social media, and begin to mimic what you see them doing. That's what I did over the years. I mimicked what the top speakers were doing, what the top coaches were doing, what the consultants were doing. I just simply mimicked what they were doing and did it in a lane that worked very well for me, though. But today, you know, even if my business crashes to today, I'm at a place where I wake up every morning. I absolutely love what I love. I love what I do. I'm making a difference. Most people are going back to jobs that they actually hate every day, and I really encourage you to seek out what it is that you've been put on this earth to do. Yeah.
Wow. This is amazing information that you're sharing. I'm going to go and see what. So what you're saying is that if you could just let go of the branch,
yes,
and keep the faith,
yes,
and know that God got you, basically,
yeah,
then you don't know what the possibilities are going to be.
Because here's the deal, Kim. In life, you never lose. You only lose when you quit. You either learn or you win. You learn or you win. The only time you lose is when you quit and you give up. So that's the reason I couldn't have a plan B, because people tell me, they say, well, why did these things work out for you? Kim, I gave away my tenure. I released myself from tenure in the district. I let go of my principal license, everything else, because I didn't want to have any fallbacks on what I was trying to do, though. So I only had this one thing that had to work. One thing, you know, and plan A was going to work no matter what. But whenever you have a plan B, it's hard to be fully committed to plan A. It will never work.
So it's basically like, this is do or die.
This is do or die.
This is it.
So you keep that one goal in mind. Now, how you get there may change, but you keep that one goal in mind. It can't be a plan B to a second goal or anything else. So whatever your vision is or your plan is for your life, you got to go after it with everything in you. And for those folks who are successful, you'll see and hear that they've done that over and over and over again. There's never a plan B. There's if this happens, then I'll do this. If this happens, then I'll do this. But I'll never waver when it comes to going after that one plan A.
Wow. That's so good. You guys, I hope that you all are taking as many notes as I am over here for what's being shared. Plan A only. Don't worry about plan B. Dr. Tommy Watson saying this.
You cannot have a happy marriage if you have a side chick on the side. Plan B.
I just reach right there. You gonna go down that road? You cannot have. Let me type that for everybody. You cannot
have a happy marriage if you have a side chick. So you can't operate plan A with a plan B. Plan B can't be your side chick.
Wow, that right there is Dr. Tommy. I'm just, oh my God, this man just doing his thing on here. Let's see. On the Kim Jacobs show. Kim Jacobs, I'm everybody's administrative assistant when they come on my show, which is a blessing. Because there's so much information that's being shared that's very helpful. Let's see. The only comment that came in that you can't have a happy marriage if you have a side chick. So you can't have plan A and think it's going to succeed if you got plan B as a side chick. Not going to happen, according to Dr. Tommy Watson. Let's see here. Flash round. Any comments came in? I think I see a lot of just my comments. I think people are taking notes more than anything. Let's see. Lydia Best said, only God can get you through all the stuff that you've been through.
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Ms. Best.
And also, Dr. Watson, I have our 80-year-old church mother is on. She watches every single day, Mother Julia Harper. She doesn't type comments. She texts me. That's why if you see me looking down, she'll text me. but she said, I'm enjoying the show. She comments.
Thank you, Mother Harper. I really appreciate you tuning in this morning as well.
And Mother Glading Garland, that's my mother-in-law. She actually gets in on YouTube as well. So she's watching, and she said, I can't type no comments, Kim, because it'll throw me off the whole broadcast. But it's kind of like you're saying you had your family that tried to get that money together for you, and it took a couple of weeks for them to get it to you, but they still came through. They came through as quickly as they could.
Absolutely.
That's kind of what happens here on my show. Some of the people that support are people that are not technologically savvy, so they click that one link,
yes,
and they watch, and they like tell me everything they need to tell me on text later.
And that's good enough. And that is good enough, big time.
I appreciate it. Trust me. So people, here. So Naomi McCargo said, "Wow."
Yeah. Thank you very much, Naomi, tuning in as well, though. Hey, Kim, let me add this piece here as well, though, because again, we start talking about the habits that it take to be resilient. You have to be one. You have to have hope. We mentioned have only positive expectations. We have to be able to deal with change, because one thing my grandmother said was always be constant in your life was change and more change. So change is going to happen. So the outcome of change is meant to grow us or make us different. So whether we grow from change or change harms us is going to be totally up to us, though.
That's right.
The way you get through change is you got to have a vision. You got to be proactive about change. You got to seek change out every day, though. You got to see change as something that's not necessarily meant to kill you, but to make you better. And then the last piece is you have to have self-confidence. I call it corner office confidence. And what that is, not about the way society sees you, but how you see yourself and how God sees you. Because the way most people just simply saw me as a broke kid coming from 5 Points, Denver, Colorado, and as an athlete. But I didn't see myself as that. Kim, I lost my job out of college. My first job out of college, I lost my job. And I remember not sure what I was going to do. And I went to work at McDonald's. Kim, it ended up being the best job ever, McDonald's Corporation. But I remember people would come in and say, why are you working at McDonald's with a degree? And they had no clue what I was getting from McDonald's. McDonald's taught me how to train, lead, all these great things. And I was able to learn how to build and manage $1 million business on their dime and make mistakes on their dime. So now today with my $1 million business, I'm able to do it based upon what I learned from McDonald's. So I ended up leaving McDonald's, Kim, after 2 years and winning their leadership award. Then I became a school principal. What I didn't tell you as a school principal, I was never a teacher. I never worked as an assistant principal. I never worked in the central office.
Wow.
All based upon my McDonald's leadership skills that I elevated to a school principal.
Wow. So that's another example of how your steps can kind of be catapulted to, you skip steps is what it sounds like.
Absolutely. So in 2 weeks, I will be doing a presentation with McDonald's Corporation, sharing that story to our young people, letting them see the value of a McDonald's, because people go into McDonald's and say, oh, this is just a burger joint.
Right.
Actually, McDonald's is not a burger joint. McDonald's actually, they don't make burgers. They actually cook burgers. But in reality, McDonald's is a real estate company. Most people don't know that. McDonald's is a real estate company. McDonald's buys the land. McDonald's Corporation buys the land. They would build a building. They would lease it out to a franchisee. The franchisee pays a fee back to McDonald's Corporation. So these are basically renters of McDonald's property. McDonald's Corporation is a real estate company. They're not necessarily a hamburger company.
So you say that, because I want to get this right, according to Dr. Tommy Watson, McDonald's Corporation helped prepare you for what?
To become a principal in run $1 million business. I was able to do it on their dime. I was able to make mistakes on McDonald's dime. So when you go to McDonald's restaurants, you will see an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 22-year-old running a $2 million business on someone else's dime. Yes.
That's really good. Really good. Really, really, really good. Okay. So I'm just typing what you're saying because I want to make sure that these nuggets here, every parent watching today's episode, you should take time to let your young people that feel like they're down and out, dealing with depression, trying to figure out their path in life, let them watch today's episode. That's why I'm doing these episodes, so that it can change and shape people's lives. And we work with children in our families in all walks of life, from all parts of town. And this kind of stuff is what can change their lives and their perspective.
And Kim, you're so right. You know, and it goes back to what we talked about in the beginning with that hope. You got to have that pathway. So McDonald's. So I told my daughter several years ago when she got to school, she was an engineer. She went to North Carolina A&T. She got a great corporate job, making great money and everything else like that. But she was not happy though. So I told her what she needed to do was find her passion, what God put on this earth to do. So she left her job within the last 6 months. She's now a health and wellness coach. So I'm so proud of her that she is now doing what she has been put on this earth to do. And she loves it. But we have to know that there are a lot of pathways out there for success. And I tell our young people, don't sleep on McDonald's. Don't sleep on the rent-a-car places that allow you to come in and learn how to run a business. Don't sleep on internships that are based around leadership, though, because the leadership skills that you get from those places are the very leadership skills you're going to need to either lead a large organization or to run your own organization later on. The same principles that McDonald's taught me when I was there with their company, I use for my company as well, though. I use as a principal. You know, when I was a principal at my school, see, when I worked at McDonald's, when the restaurant was struggling, McDonald's didn't give us extra resources. They said, you have to be creative and figure it out. So when I was a school principal, when we didn't have a lot of resources, I had to be creative and figure it out. So one of the things we didn't have a lot of, you know, because we were serving a high poverty school, we didn't have a lot of parental involvement. So what I did, I went to a suburban church. It was one of the biggest churches in Minnesota, where all these stay-at-home moms were doing Bible study groups during the day. And I went and talked to them about the need we had in our school. So if you ever came to my school, you would see adults everywhere, but they weren't parents. They were volunteers. And what I had to shift our staff's mind was, I said, it's not about, yes, we would want parents to come to the building, but the parents aren't coming. What we need is adults in the building. Right. Who want to show care for the kids. Right. We simply went out to this church. This church adopted our school as one of their, it was a predominantly, it was all white church, actually, very affluent church. They were giving our kids backpacks. They were giving anything our school needed, that church supplied for us. So McDonald's taught me to be creative and utilize the resources that are there. Resilient people, which we are very resourceful people. So oftentimes we think someone needs to give me something in order for me to be successful. You already have within you what you need to be successful. You need to sit down and ask the right questions, though. Not necessarily can I do it, but how can I do it?
So, Dr. Watson, you might be the person to help me, right? Because I'm pop this up here right now, but I need my training from a $1 billion mindset over there. So, in order for me to have this show, right?
Yes.
You're going to do a training for a second right now. In order for me to have the Kim Jacobs Show, it is strictly a show that's virtual. I'm here, you're in your home office. It comes on every day, Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock a.m. until noon typically. And sometimes it goes a little longer depending upon what time I start. Yeah. And so the only way that the show can function is if people financially support the show. Other than that, I won't be able to have my people that do the flyers. I won't be able to have the people that do all the bookings of the shows, the videography, all of the stuff that you get to see, that it requires funds.
Yes.
What advice can you give me? Because I'm learning too. I do these shows, but I'm the first partaker. You know, kind of like the word of God. When you preach the word, and you need to be the first partaker before you go tell somebody what to do. Practice what you preach and stop running your mouth if you're not doing what you said, telling everybody else to do. Right. Right. So I want my show to be successful and to be able to help other people.
Absolutely.
This is what I've been doing. Hey, saying, hey, Cash App, KimJacobsInc, PayPal, whatever. What advice would you give me?
So here's, I'm gonna start with this scripture right here, Kim. This scripture says, Ecclesiastes 11:2, okay? Says, but divide your investment among many, to 7 or 8 places, for you do not know what risk might lie ahead. So even with your business, and when you look at millionaires, most millionaires have anywhere between 7 and 9 streams of income. You need to have additional streams of what it is you're doing here. So your books, you need to come up with a program. I think Javon may have said you. Okay.
I have a book. I
So
have
now
3 books.
we need to turn that book into a program, Kim. Okay, a program, a 6-step program or whatever. It can be a coaching program. It can be a program for corporations. It can be a program for individuals. Okay, your story. I tell Javon, everyone has a story to tell. Everyone has a story to sell. What's your personal story that you've been sitting on that people can benefit from? That could possibly turn into a movie. I didn't get a chance to mention this yet, but my story.
We'll talk about that.
A movie called Resilient. Everyone has a story. Now, Hollywood is looking for content. Hollywood loves true life stories. Okay, all the networks out there are looking for content. One of the things about true stories is one of the ways that we connect as individuals through our stories. Stories will never go away. True life stories never go away. True life stories are being looked at and sought out by networks all over the place. You get a network contract with someone. You have $1 million contract over here. The Kim Jacobs Show becomes a show that becomes on television somewhere now. So yes, you want people to contribute to the show through Cash App and other means, though. But let's create a program for some of those folks, Kim, who are out there. Okay, let's create a coaching program for some of those folks who are out there. Okay, let's teach the folks out there to do a lot of stuff that you're doing, the behind the scenes. Teach people how you have a show going on. There are people who want to do that.
I have 2 interns.
Yeah.
2 interns that's starting.
Yes. Small fee though. But the key though is you got to create multiple ways of getting done what it is you're trying to do though.
Okay. I love it. That's good advice. Yeah. Okay, then my studio audience is gonna be like, look at Kim. Don't be trying to help. You need to get my question answered. Only God, He is the only one. Gene Key said. His steps were ordered. Your steps were ordered by the Lord.
Yes, all of our steps are ordered. Yes.
Your gifts made room for you by the grace of God, Lydia Best said.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I hope I didn't miss anybody.
Do you have a theme song, Kim?
I had a theme song for Daily Balance, which, Elder Josie, Lamont Josie did that theme song for me. He might come up with another one, I'm sure, for me.
I have a theme song for my movie.
Yes, tell us about your movie. Do you want me to do it? Want me to go to the website or anything, or just wait?
I'm actually going to play my theme song, if you don't mind. I want to play my theme song for you as well, though.
Yes, please. Now, keep in mind, guys, go to tawatson.com.
Yes.
tawatson.com, because he has a movie coming out called Resilient. Is it The Resilient Man?
Resilient, just Resilient.
Okay. Make sure you visit his website. Play your theme. So let me type that. That's what's happening.
Let me give you a couple things. First, I want to play. I'm going to do this in segments. So I'm going to play the hook for you first, because sometimes, Kim, we go through life sometimes, and life leaves scars because we've all been wounded to some degree, and those incidents leave us feeling hurt sometimes, pain. But I tell people, what if those scars were never meant to kill you, but meant to be as a reminder of where God has brought you from? So in my song Resilient, the hook says that my scars tell me over and over, my scars tell me that I survived. I want to play the hook for anyone out there who may be going through something right now. You may have had some scars from the past that may have crept up on you. And in this song, you'll hear me say, will it ever change? Because I was going through so much stuff. It says, will it ever change? Then you hear the hook, Resilient. And then you're going to hear the voice of my niece, the beautiful voice of my niece, Danielle Hutchins, who's going to sing this piece around the hook. Okay. So
are you singing on it?
My niece, Danielle Hutchins, she's an artist. She's singing the hook. And you're gonna hear the hook. And then I'm going to play the song for you. Okay. Is that okay, Kim?
Yes. Before you play it, are you actually singing on the song is what I'm asking.
You're going to hear me rap on the song. Okay. I can't sing. But this is the hook first. We're going to listen to the hook first. Here it is. My scars tell me that I'm alive. My scars tell me that I have survived it over and over. My scars tell me that I'm alive. Yeah. She says, my scars tell me that I've survived it over and over. My scars tell me that I'm alive. So anybody out there going through any challenges or changes from your past, the scars that you have endured are scars to tell you that you have survived it over and over. And those scars are here to tell you that you are alive.
Wow.
Let you hear me. Okay, again, it goes back to those multiple streams of income. Now I'm also a rapper as well.
Now you go from 4 degrees. You got your doctorate. You went to the University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
you training people.
Yeah.
And now you also a rapper. Okay.
I'm a rapper as well. So here's my theme song called Resilient. All right. Tell me if that's too loud. How's the sound quality?
Perfect.
You chance to hear me rap here. There's two more hooks to this. Just give me a chance.
Take your time.
Can you sing that, Kim? Sing that. My stars tell me.
You don't want me to sing it, I can say it. My scars tell me that I'm still alive.
That's right. My stars tell me that I'm alive.
I'm alive, yeah. Yeah.
There's one more verse here.
Okay.
There you go. So any kid who wants to be a rapper out there, they can be a rapper and a doctor at the same time.
Oh my gosh, you can be a rapper and a doctor
at the same time.
At the same time. Oh my gosh, what Dr. Tommy.
Yes.
Watson, what great inspiration you've shared on today's episode. I don't even want the show to end because I know so many young people would really benefit. I'm going to put that in. You could be a rapper and a doctor at the same time. So all excuses are off the table when it comes to success, according to Dr. Tommy Watson.
That's right. And we all have a call in our lives. It's up to us to seek out that calling. It's not about money. It's not about status. It's not about things. It's really about why God has put us here on this earth, though. Find your why. You found everything, you know.
My mom, this is my biological mother. She's Jay's mom too. So she said, Tommy, please don't ask my daughter to sing. No. She sings like her mother.
Thank you, Ms. Ella. Oh man, yeah. It's just you may have an unfound skill out there you haven't tapped into yet, Kim. You never know.
Okay, yeah. All right. I like that, Dr. Watson.
Thank you very much.
Well, I am so honored to have you on today's episode. Is there anything else that you would like to just share with our listening audience today, viewers? Because I mean, everybody's going to be going back and taking notes and sharing this with every one of their friends, family, coworkers.
So I want to share one of my favorite poems. And if my boy Javon Jackson, my fraternity brother's online, he knows this is pretty pertinent to our fraternity. It's called "See It Through." Okay, it says, "When you're in trouble, meet it squarely, face to face. Lift your chin, set your shoulder, plant your feet, and take a brace. When it's vain to try to dodge it, do the best you can do. You may fail, but you may conquer. See it through. Black may be the clouds about you. Your future may seem grim, but don't let your nerves desert you. Keep yourself from finding trim. If worse is bound to happen, in spite of all you can do, running from it won't save you. See it through. Even hope may seem but futile when with troubles you beset. Remember you're facing what other men have met. You may fail, but fall still fighting. Don't give up. Whatever you do, eyes front, head high to the finish. See it through." See it through. And if anybody wants to know more about that song, they can Google "Resilient Song." You should be able to get the song as well. You should download the song. It's on iTunes, any place where you can purchase music, you'll find it. Do "Resilient" Dr. Tommy Watson.
Wow. I'm going to put your contact information back up here again. tawatson.com. Dr. Tommy Watson went from parents that were in jail over 121 times collectively, grew up in some unbelievable impoverished odds, and went on to become a football player at University of Minnesota, ended up being in the NFL, right?
No, I got hurt before the NFL, so I didn't make it to the NFL.
Okay.
Thank God I didn't make it to the NFL. Yeah.
Tell us for a second about that.
Because my ambitions to make it to the NFL were self-centered. They were focused on money and me. And God had a different plan for me. He said, no, I don't want you to focus on you. I want you to know that there's bigger purpose out there for you. And there's more than I'm calling you to do. So I really thank God that he did put me on a different pathway to things, you know. And I mentioned real quickly about the movie. We won 9 awards so far in film festivals around the country. So you can't necessarily see the movie yet because it's in film festivals. But we were just showcased here in the Charlotte Black Film Festival a couple of days ago. We're going to be in the San Francisco Black Film Festival in a couple of days as well. But I'm getting ready to pitch a series about my story to some of the networks here soon. And it's going to be called "Resilient Below Poverty." So Kim, your question to me might be, well, what is below poverty, Dr. Watson, right? Poverty is bad, right? What's below poverty? So I'll give you this example right here. So when I was in middle school and we were going to school, and my friends lived in the projects. So they lived in the projects. The school bus would go get them, 100 of them, go pick them up. They were in single parent households, maybe a couple generations in the projects, maybe 1 or 2 doubled up in a room, a bedroom or what have you, though. And they would go to school. All of them would go to school together. Mm-hmm. Me and my little brother were walking in from another city, from a motel room where there was 9 of us in one room. We didn't have any food. We went to school to get the food. We weren't on the radar screen for any government assistance because my parents were involved in illegal activity. So we weren't getting any welfare. We weren't getting any Section 8. We weren't getting housing or any of that stuff, though. It was all based upon what was taking place in that day-to-day atmosphere. So my point is, as I'm doing my series, the issue of homelessness is a big deal in our country. Right now, we got about 3 million kids who face homelessness each year in our school system. The McKinney-Vento Act states homelessness, not just about sleeping on the streets, but it's another form of homelessness that we don't think about. For kids who are living in shelters, motel rooms, doubled up with other families. And then there's a small percentage of them who are sleeping on streets. But this whole issue of homelessness is one that my series is going to bring a spotlight on, in terms of what it was like to live in the motel rooms, what it was like to live in the crisis centers, what it was like to live in the foster homes, what it was like to see my mom in prison. So all the different things that a lot of these other shows don't show you, my series will be showing, and not just talking about what my parents did, but giving their stories the why they did it. Because my parents were, because sometimes we see a person doing drugs and all these other things.
Right.
We'll go into the stories. My mom was, her mother, when I go back to my grandmother on my mom's side, she didn't know who her father was, not to excuse it, but it gives you the why though.
Right. You understand it better.
Yeah. So my mother was molested when she was 10 years old, and she was out there on the streets as a young kid, and not knowing what to do. Her sister died in prison at the age of 21 from a drug overdose. Her brother, who my uncle is, I looked up to, was sleeping in a car at the age of 12. So you got a generation of hurts and harms out there that weren't attended to, and it just became passed down from one generation to the next generation. So my series will show the why driving behind their stories. My dad not knowing his father, and all those other things. My sister, what led her to turn to drugs? Because again, it's important that we know the why behind each other's stories, because the why,
right,
we're able to have more sympathy and empathy for a person as they're going through it, and we can change behaviors. Yeah.
That's really great. I thank you so much, Dr. Tommy Watson, for taking this amount of time to break everything down to help those that are truly resilient, but they don't look at themselves that way. They just see only what other people are funneling into them, ADHD and get this and do that. And they're being labeled inappropriately when really they may just be a young person that has some passion and drive.
Absolutely.
That has a tremendous gift growing inside of them, but they don't even know how to cultivate it or tap into it. If any of you that are watching this show that applies to you, or if you're a parent that's watching this, maybe Dr. Tommy Watson can give you some guidance and some direction. 704-944-3555, right?
Absolutely. Right here in the Charlotte area. So we're right in the same place here as well.
704-944-3555, tawatson.com. Please check out his website. We didn't show the website because me and him talked about him just talking through everything versus just showing you the website and you see it all right there. But now that you've seen the show, go check out his full website. It's all kinds of information on there for you to learn, and reach out to Dr. Tommy Watson, 704-944-3555. Get the theme song, which is Resilient.
Yes.
You get it anywhere, iTunes, any downloadable form, and you can get that copy of his theme song. Any closing comment?
Kim, I do want to say this because there were talking about seizing the opportunity. So many years ago, you were doing a show here in Charlotte, a TV show. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Javon reached out to me. He said, my sister wants to have you and Les Brown on the show. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
For some reason, I could not make it on the show. And I told myself after that, I would never let another opportunity go by me where I can't seize on that moment ever again, though. I was not prepared for it. So I tell my kids it's better to be prepared for an opportunity, not have one, than to have one and not be prepared. So since that moment in time, I always make sure that I'm always prepared for the next opportunity. So if you're out there and you may be looking for your next employment opportunity, you may be looking to climb the ladder where you are, you may be looking to become an entrepreneur, become that right now before the opportunity presents itself. So when it does present itself, you're able to capitalize on it and move forward and keep going, and then celebrate those around you who are already winning. Don't be a hater. Celebrate those around you who are winning, because success breeds success. That's what I'll end with. I really appreciate you having me on today. You can see I can do this all day. This is my.
I can do this all day too. So you met your match. I could sit here literally for the whole day. I'm comfortable. I got my little water. I'm good.
Go. Yeah.
So
this inspiration is what I do. I left my job as a principal. This is what I said I wanted to do. I didn't want to manage people. I wanted to just encourage people, become better, live their best lives, and then go home. That's all I want to do.
Well, thank you for helping everyone that's watching today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show live their best lives. Listen, everybody, please, if you have not subscribed to the Kim Jacobs Show, take a moment, youtube.com. You can go right here, click on the link and subscribe today so that more shows like this can come on Monday through Friday. Tomorrow, I have a young lady that's going to be coming on, and she's always bringing very thought-provoking information into the community. I learned so many things from her. Her name is Belinda Kendall, and she's going to be my guest tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. here on the Kim Jacobs Show. Wednesday, I got to make sure I let you guys know that Silas Farley is going to be on the show, and he is with the New York City Ballet. You don't want to miss. And it's all kinds of episodes coming up throughout this week. So a great lineup, and dealing with mental health of African American men will be happening on this show this week as well. So you don't want to miss one day of the Kim Jacobs Show, because you will miss something great. I can tell you that.
Tune in. Be sure to tune in.
Tune in. Okay, my mom said awesome show.
Thank you very much.
All right, everybody. God bless you and be encouraged. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Dr. Watson, thank you for being my guest. And you could just stay on because I'm going to talk to you backstage for 1 second. Okay. But let's just say goodbye to everyone else. God bless you.
God bless you. Go out and live your best lives.
Thank